Good day, beautiful tribe. Welcome back to the Love Shack studio. I'm your host, Joseph Tittel, aka Spiritman JT, and I hope you all missed me as much as I missed you all over the past 2 weeks as I took my adventure and spiritual journey through Peru. Once again, many things are falling into place as far as past predictions going back the past few weeks while I was away, starting with my visions of a large explosion along the coast of Australia, which actually did play out, unfortunately, in Queensland, Australia, on a beach. Luckily, there were no injuries or anything like that, but quite scary, I imagine, for folks on or near that beach in Australia. And speaking of our friends down under, I warned that they would be rattled by earthquakes in the south and even around Queensland, both which also played out over the past few weeks. And friends, there is so much more to come, especially for our friends down under, our Aussie friends down there. Now, the most recent prediction coming into light is that major earthquake that I predicted would hit Afghanistan, which sadly did play out over the weekend, actually on the 1st of the month, claiming many lives. Spirit warned us of this uptick in quakes that was going to occur, friends. And the very first week, the very first day of September, it kicked off. And it truly, really did kick off. So just wait, friends, until we reach the coming weekend, because things are about to flare up as we step into eclipse season. And you're feeling that energy of the eclipse already. Now, I talked about some major protests back in July, actually, where I saw protests in Australia. And I remember somebody in the comments saying, oh, Australians are never going to step up. They're never going to step up. Well, indeed, they did step into their power over the past week. And that played out with big protests and unfortunate clashes. And this also happened for our friends in Japan, also stepping into their power and protesting the overwhelming amount of not-so-legals coming into their country. Sounds like a common theme, doesn't it, friends? Sounds like a very common theme. Now, another interesting thing that's happened is artificial intelligence, or at least ChatGPT, is now responsible for a person taking their life into their own hands. A very sad, very quite disturbing story, friends. And this is quite clear sign of how dangerous AI truly is, especially for our younger generation. So, is the governments, or are the governments ever going to do anything about this and the extreme dangers posed by AI? I'll talk about that today. You may also recall in early August my warning about floods and more flooding and more flooding. And even I warned Vietnam, where several lives were claimed after a horrifying typhoon hit the folks in Vietnam. And more than 2 million folks were affected by severe flooding in Pakistan. And another place which I warned, even India. And in Pakistan, they're calling it the worst flood in history. Flooding in China, India, and the list, friends, just keeps going and going and growing and growing, especially with these astrological alignments and transits that are going into place in the next, beginning yesterday, actually. Today, I am recording this on Tuesday the 2nd. It was just 11:11 a.m., Make-A-Wish, when I started recording anyway. So, lots of crazy stuff's happening. And also right here, in Arizona, if you remember, I had visions that there would be a massive dust storm. And this became a reality while I was gone, thankfully, appearing like a scene out of the apocalypse, causing the airport to shut down in Phoenix, and many concerns as the weather is really, friends, going cray-cray. So what's next? A lot's next, friends. We're only just stepping into these windows of time. All while they keep pushing in our faces. Have you noticed this interstellar object, actually several interstellar objects, zooming through our galaxy and heading towards Earth? Is this true? Is it a true threat? Or is it just NASA and friends preparing us for their plans to forge this global government? I know it may sound crazy, but soon that crazy may become just another reality. Another reality. So much to discuss, friends, today, including some information I received in Peru, the intense incoming transits and predictions around them, and I will also spend a good amount of time answering a load of questions left down below with a wide variety of great topics. So friends, get that tea kettle ready and whistling, friends, because this is episode number 180 of Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time, baby. All right, I just had to take a quick break and get myself some tea. I got myself some nice coca tea from Peru. And my throat, it's interesting because I don't ever get anything. So I'm going to take it as some allergies or my body continuing to clear from the medicines and the ceremonies that I did throughout the past 2 weeks in Peru. Now going back to this whole retrograde that comes in on this coming weekend, the 6th, even though it's not a Mercury retrograde, it's still a retrograde. And it's in the sign of Gemini, friends. And Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So is the sign Virgo, by the way. So this is going to highlight transportation. It's going to highlight mobility, getting around. So our older folks, we got to keep an eye on them. Make sure that they are not tipping over or falling. And if you're an older folk, don't do something if you don't feel like it. Don't get up. You know, if you're having problems with your mobility, just sit back and relax a little bit. But this includes mainly mobility with even transportation, whether it be with the roads, cars, trains, or aeroplanes, and even short distance travel. Doesn't matter. This is going to slow down travel just slightly. Not as much as Mercury retrograde, but enough. And more so, it's going to bring more attention to these areas. So we're going to see a lot of recalls around vehicles, maintenance issues around vehicles and things, and around all these trains, planes, automobiles, and all. And more so even electronic vehicles. You're going to see a lot of that. Electronic vehicle recalls, problems with electronic vehicles. That includes drones and, of course, air travel. Now, Uranus retrograde is also going to bring in shakeups. Excuse me. I don't know what is up with my throat. It's like tickly. Like there's a little fur buggy back there tickling my throat. So Uranus retrograde is also going to bring shakeups around free speech, censorship. We're going to see a lot of that coming into play, especially over there in Europe and the UK and such. And this whole demand for truth when it comes to online groups, which is important. We need that truth. And I would tell you to expect temporary shutdowns and even bans on things, walkbacks of communication platforms and communication policies, whether it be Facebook, X, or what have you. And this is also a great transit when it comes to be beyond interesting whistleblowers. Whistleblowers, big leaks, hidden truth being exposed, and more so, ground media, citizen, independent media, and journalism coming to the forefront, as it has been, but even more so over the next few months, beginning this coming weekend. Now, we're about to see a ton of cyber disruptions, cyber attacks, cyber breaches of data, big data breaches we're going to be reading about. Hopefully it won't be our data. And this is an energy literally made for the hackers, friends. Like, this energy is, perfect for hackers. I hope there's no hackers watching. But if there are, this energy is perfect for you. So be aware, friends. Keep your information safe. It's all different things that you can sign up for to protect your information, to protect you. So look into that. Really important. This is also when the globalists and the media are going to use information, like propaganda, as a weapon of some sort. So you got to be very, very mindful of what mass media is putting out and the government's putting out over the next few months, really. Now remember, Gemini rules over the nervous system for the entire collective. That's all of us, friends. So therefore, this is bound to amplify being overwhelmed mentally, anxiety spikes and spikes in your anxiety, and even burnout from hyperconnectivity. So friends, turn off your computer, put the phone down, and get outside and connect to the earth and her beautiful elements. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, friends. I am. This is going to keep you and any anxiety grounded and centered so that you don't fall into this energy trap that opens up on the 6th. We are also going to see more strikes taking place, whether it be around education, especially the education. So I would tell you to expect walkouts happening at schools, school walkouts, whether it's the students or the teachers, even transportation especially. Some transportation strikes, and I feel that we're going to see even more issues around strikes and protests around a big port. I don't know if this is in the United States. It might even be down in Australia. It might be in both places. But I see some kind of protests or walkouts around the port, which is going to affect goods, of course. And this is likely going to be the window now through January. If you recall my vision of seeing a very large trucker strike taking place. So this is the window beginning this weekend. Let me stir my little tea here and get a little tea in down my throat. Tea and honey, baby. Yes. So this transit also rolls over youth-led movements, the younger generation. So together it's going to bring in these very rebellious type of young voices stepping forward. So expect there to be, as I stated a few weeks ago from past visions, student and university protests. I know here in America it'll get shut down real quickly, but they're still going to happen. I see the youth getting really, really involved, especially when it even comes to the climate, even politics, the whole immigration thing. So big stuff happening with that. Excuse me while I'm going to have to keep sipping my tea so I don't keep coughing. This is so strange. It's fine all the way up to recording. So things are about to become more and more interesting, friends. And that's probably an understatement. And I see many online movements that are going to be pushing for accountability. You know, making things accountable. Even when it comes, this just popped in my mind, to the Epstein files. These people need to be held accountable. For sure. Will they? Some will. Some will still slide through the cracks and get away with it, of course. And it's just going to get more and more interesting. Making the global stage, theater, eligible for an Oscar win, friends. That's what it's going to be like. The global stage is going to be eligible for an Oscar win because it's going to play out so wild and amazing. It's good times, friends. Good times for sure. Now, things get super intense when we hit the full moon and the lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. And here we go with another Pisces transit, friends. So talk about a lot of water. It's a tidal wave of energy hitting on the 7th. Tidal wave of energy. And I would expect the 7th to be a day where we likely see some type of very big historic event taking place. Perhaps actually several historic events taking place on the 7th. Excuse me. So your dreams, I know mine have, I don't know about you, but your intuition, for starters, is going to be off the charts. And your dreams are going to become so vivid, perhaps even prophetic. I had some wild dreams last night about crystals, and we were in the mountains, and I found these big crystal points and this big crystal ball. It was a pretty interesting dream with old friends, and some of them aren't even alive anymore. So that was a wild, wild dream. So that's going to happen. And that dream wasn't prophetic, but it was pretty vivid for sure. Vivid dreams. Very prophetic dreams. Now your emotions, friends, they're going to come to the surface. Remember, Pisces, all water signs, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, love to hold their emotions in. Now, Scorpios are a little more temperamental, so they hold their emotions in a pressure cooker until they pop. And it does also matter what your moon sign and your rising ascendant signs are, too. If you have any of them, regardless, emotions are going to come to the surface. When they do, friends, cry if you need to cry. Let it go. Let it out. Remember that 9 vibration will help you. Just cry. Go watch the movie My Stepmother. That's a great movie to make you cry. Cry. And if, go for a walk or go for a run if you feel anxious or you feel angry. And remember to tell somebody close to you, that you love them. And will help open up your heart even more. And everything I said earlier about Pisces and the effects that it's going to have on the waters and all of the above, well, we can expect this again to bring in double, perhaps even triple those energies around Pisces and water when we hit that full moon eclipse. It's bound to bring in all kinds of amazing stuff and maybe not so amazing, because I also feel that the full moon eclipse is bound to bring major earthquake activity to a strong potential, and even a strong potential for very strong tsunami waves to begin to form. The energy, and this energy is in place now. We feel it now. You're feeling it already, friends. You were feeling it even a week ago. 2 to 3 weeks before. Excuse me, 2 to 3 weeks before, 2 to 3 weeks after. So you're already swimming in that full moon eclipse energy. Pretty much for the month, because then we have the new moon eclipse happening then. We'll talk about that as the month progresses. And excuse me. Again, I thought I had a tissue here somewhere. There we go. So the eclipse is a clear sign from the divine creator and from the light, taking us from the darkness into the light, and then the light into the darkness, knowing that light is going to rise again. It's what the eclipse is symbolic of. So something I already knew about, but in Peru, Universe and Grandmother Ayahuasca shed even more light on this. Like the light at the end of the tunnel, or the tunnel of light that we see when we pass away. And I'll tell you more about that later. Perhaps in my ayahuasca video, if I remember, I'll tell you more about that later. But I know there's a lot of talk online of people telling you, don't go into the light, it's a trap, it's a trap. It's not a trap, friends. It's a bunch of baloney, don't believe it. It's actually the opposite. Not going into the light is the trap, the total trap. So I might as well just tell you now so I don't forget. Because people are going to be in the comments, you didn't get to tell us. You didn't tell us. So I'm telling you, that's what ayahuasca showed me. And I already knew that. So when you pass, yes, your loved ones come for you, even pets, to encourage us to go into that light. Remember, also when you're born, and this has been scientifically documented, that there's a spark of light that happens in the womb. And then we continue to live in that darkness for 9 months or what have you before we are exposed to the light again. So it's an eclipse right there. Birth is an eclipse. You have a spark of light in the womb, you swim in the darkness, and then you're revealed into the light once again. So go to the light, Caroline. There's peace in the light. Remember that movie? One of my favorite movies, Poltergeist. So we are definitely friends. I'll tell you, we are stepping into a time of exposure and a time of truth. Big time exposure and truth. Now, through the 14th, I would tell you to expect to see an overwhelming or record-breaking amount of headlines revolved around weather and earth events. So this next 2 weeks is intense. I would expect some big hurricanes to be, coming about, cyclones, typhoons, big announcements. We're going to see big leaks into the media, especially leaks coming from big pharma and from food and our food sources. We're already getting more and more revealed about the toxicity of our foods, especially here in the United States. So big pharma and even medical sectors, where we're going to see whistleblowers stepping forward and saying, hey, this is what's really happening. So many scandals are going to begin to unravel coming in the coming weeks and even in the coming months between now and January. So this should really be a great show, friends. It should be a really great show as long as we just sit back and observe. Do not plug into the chaotic energies around these coming events. And remember, to take time to meditate, because these transits are going to also highlight spirituality. So this is a time to open up to that spirituality. It's a great time to go to a spiritual retreat, even a yoga retreat, or anything that comes along your path. Take it as a sign that you need to do it. Maybe read something new around the subject. Find a spiritual community that you vibe with, and take some time, some downtime, to connect with the earth. Can't stress to you how important that really is. Because friends, the next few weeks is a roller coaster ride through a tsunami of energy. So hold on tight, friends. It's about to get real. Beautiful souls, I just want to take a moment to welcome you to my channel. Back to my channel if you're new here. My name is Joseph Tittel, spiritual medium for over 3 decades, aka Spiritman JT. And if you're new here and you want accurate predictions, prophecy, truth, and great content, and you want to vibe with this awesome tribe that we are building, smash that subscribe, the bell and all, so that you get notifications. Down below in the description, you'll find recommended videos. You'll also find all my other social media links, whether it be Spotify, Rumble, TikTok, and all the rest. I put a lot of shorts up on TikTok and Instagram, so be sure to follow me there. Make sure you're following the real me. Again, clicking the links down below. And if you get a message on, or a direct message on any of those social media platforms that appear to be me, I assure you it is not me. It is not me. It's likely a false, fake account, so be sure to report those accounts right away. Also, down below, you can sign up for the free newsletter that goes out in the beginning of the month with all the astrology, numerology, and all the past content, and even classes or whatever, but I haven't been doing classes this year. I'm taking a little hiatus from that for a while. I was going to do them next year, but it looks like I'll be going back to Peru for a couple months to learn the Wachuma plant medicine. Wachuma is also San Pedro. I was apparently chosen by the Oracle. Something definitely I've been wanting to do. I would love to learn the ayahuasca medicine, but I guess it's just not time for that. And thank you for the compliments on my hat from the last video of my September forecast and predictions. This is made out of alpaca, baby alpaca fur, or wool. They call it alpaca wool. This band going around, because there's another band underneath that I covered up with this nice band that's actually handmade by the people there. Bought some amazing handmade objects there and a beautiful, amazing painting that I splurged on because I was called to this artist and to this painting. It's just amazing. So the whole thing was pretty amazing. And I'll share it with you when I get the time. Right now it's the beginning of the month and I got lots of stuff to put out to you, including a meditation that I want to get out to you. I will have another video open on Thursday with predictions for September. And at some point, maybe also Thursday, I'll have the meditation video released so that you can utilize that to the best of your advantage when we get to that full moon lunar eclipse. Remember, we're in that energy already, so anytime you do that meditation now and over the next couple weeks is good. So you don't have to necessarily do it on the full moon. Remember that. Of course, you'll get the best benefits from it, but you'll benefit no matter when you do it. So also, thank you for clicking the thumbs up love button. It helps the channel, helps this information get out to others, and it also helps the algorithms put content similar to this on your feed. So you want to do that. I know I always do that. If I like a video that I want to see more of, I always click that thumbs up love button. What else did I want to say? Thank you to all the supporters who make this content possible for everybody else, whether you're a member of the Subscribe Star community down below in the links, or whether you are a member of the channel. There's a difference between members and subscribers. Remember that. Members are monthly supporters that choose a different level to support. That's all down below on the YouTube channel. And then all the contributors that make this free content possible for everybody else. Thank you with infinite love and gratitude. My throat still feels like I got a cat back there meowing. So strange, so strange. But let us move on with episode 180 of Tuesday's Teatime. I forgot to turn the air off, so you probably heard it in the background a little bit, just a little bit. So once again, friends, many things are falling into place. From past predictions, going back to the past few weeks while I was away, starting with my vision of a large explosion that I saw along the coast somewhere near Australia, which actually played out in some form or another for our friends in Queensland, Australia, on a beach. Quite scary, friends. I'd imagine for the folks that were down there on that beach down under or even near that beach, because I'm sure it was a loud explosion. As you can see here in the article, I believe it was a controlled explosion due to a suspected object on the beach, which I think turned out to be a, one of them things that float in the water, you know, those things. I think it ended up being that. But regardless, you know, a controlled explosion that left this huge, huge crater in the sand, as you see in the picture. But I gotta be honest, friends, I feel that there's some type of much larger explosion that's occurring in Australia. Perhaps and likely related to gas or a gas leak of some sort. And this feels to me like it's closer to the area of Sydney, Australia. It might even be in Sydney or right on the outskirts of Sydney, Australia. So friends down under, be aware of that. Now, speaking of our friends down under, I also warned that they would be rattled by earthquakes in the south and also around Queensland, both which happened to play out over the past few weeks as well. I remember always in the comments, cracks me up, some of the people in the comments, oh, we don't get all earthquakes here. That doesn't happen. You're like right by the Papua New Guinea and all. Big activity. Eventually, that's going to ricochet down. We're in this time of big earth changes and earth shifts. So it doesn't matter where you are. Eventually, you're going to experience an earthquake one way or another, no matter where you live on this planet over the next 5 years. So it started with this large quake. They called it large. It was only a 5.6. I think it was 5.6 that rattled Queensland, Australia. And those folks sure have been dealing with a lot of weather stuff lately down there. It rattled windows. And there was another smaller quake that rattled windows in South Australia. No big deal. No damage. But it still happened. And as I predicted in the past, I feel activities are going to pick up. Around Australia. And some parts will experience very serious shakeups. Very serious shakeups. November jumps into my mind. And November is a very intense time. Excuse me. I don't think this is going to stop today. But got to get this show done. I feel fine, other than this thing in my throat. Very weird. So remember, November is also the third and final energy shift in Mercury retrograde of the year. It's going to be intense. Now, another area of concern for me are the upper parts of Australia, closer to Papua New Guinea, where I saw huge shifts taking place in the plates and potential for tsunami waves. The good part about that is some of the tsunami waves I felt were hitting areas where there aren't people. So I'm sure our friends in Australia can elaborate on where that may be. Again, I'm geographically challenged, especially when it comes to Australia, because I don't live there. But I do gaze at the maps quite often. Now, the most recent prediction coming into light keeps us on the subject of earthquakes, of course. Just recently, I believe right before I departed from Peru, I predicted that Afghanistan would be hit by a very large earthquake. And that sadly did play out yesterday, September 1st, when it all kicked into gear. Now, the footage is quite devastating. Mother Earth consumed at least 800 Afghan folks, leaving behind piles of rubble, with rescuers attempting to dig out of the rubble. Very sad and somewhat apocalyptic when you look at the aftermath. It's crazy, friends. It's wild. Now, Spirit also did warn of an uptick in quakes that would occur in the first week of September. I said that a couple weeks ago before I left. It was also in my September forecast and predictions. And it truly did kick off. As soon as we stepped into the month of September, it kicked off. September 1st. In Afghanistan, sadly. And prayers to those folks there. Because there's a lot of shifting of the plates happening in that area, according to the spirits. So I would expect even more quakes in that area and the surrounding areas. I would expect Turkey to be hit really soon, too. And just wait until we reach the coming weekend, friends. This coming weekend, things are just going to flare up once again. And I did discuss predictions around earthquakes in my September forecast and predictions. So if you happen to miss my September forecast and predictions, be sure to check it out. I'll leave a link up above or down below, or at the end of this broadcast, you'll see it pop up as well. I talked about coming major protests and people all across the globe protesting, and I also saw protests happening in Australia, which also played out over the past week. They're calling them anti-immigration protests. I don't know how true that is. You let us know in the comments, our friends in Australia. But that's what the media is calling it. And the media is claiming that this caused a divide in Australia. Which, that's what their goal is, divide us. Divide and conquer, right? And now this brought about, of course, these Australian protests brought about a lot of clashes. Apparently with neo-Nazis or something along those lines. And we cannot always really believe what the media narratives are. Of course you should know that. And actually, at this point, you probably shouldn't believe anything that they're pushing out. Especially in these coming months with these transits that align with propaganda and fake lies. Just saying, friends. This same scenario is beginning to spread all over the globe, friends. Because our friends in Japan are now stepping into their power and protesting over the overwhelming amount of not-so-legals coming into their country. That's what their protests are. Again, it seems to be a common theme, right? That's spreading. A common theme that's spreading. People are getting fed up and angry, and sadly, they're taking it out on each other. That's what the globalists want, friends. We can't do that. We have to come together. Just like the Beatles sang, come together right now. Instead of taking it out on the they're taking it out on each other instead of taking it out on the globalists and the government puppets that orchestrated this chaos likely decades ago. People will know. People will wake up to it. It's happening. Now, there were even major protests in Indonesia, where at least 20 people have gone missing and several did not even survive the protests. Of course, the media there is blacking out these protests. Now, the media here is also blacking out the protests, especially that are happening over there in Gaza, where 200 media outlets across the globe gathered together to protest against Israel. But you know what they say, friends? Don't look over here. Don't look over here. Look over there instead. Well, we're looking over there and we're looking over here because we need to know what's happening. Now, thousands are now protesting in Chicago here in the United States after the claims that Trump is about to send forces in, while the mayor of Chicago signs this executive order that's supposed to protect the city from the Trump regime. But will it? Protests will only continue to grow, friends, especially with these incoming energies and transits and this double 9 vibration in September. Hold on tight. It's going to get real. This tea's so delicious. Have you ever had coca tea? Absolutely delicious. I think it's ridiculous that it's illegal. But I managed to get some in my suitcase. It's just delicious. Now, anyway, and it's good for your digestive system too, by the way. It's good for elevation sickness and a whole bunch of other things. Now, I see protests in Europe, especially around England and the United Kingdom, getting out of hand. Large presence of police I saw in visions and even military of some sort stepping in. Now, this goes for our friends in Ireland, Scotland, and many other countries. As September, again, friends, is all about rising up. It's all about rising up and bringing the light to these dark times and these dark situations. That's what the eclipse is about, friends. It's about bringing the light in, from light to darkness and back into the light again. And we have the solar eclipse on the 21st. So it's a really awesome time, actually. So remember, friends, stay plugged into your heart energy. Visualize the golden light streaming from the center of your chest and your heart center. And unplug. Just simply, I am unplugging from your energy, whether it's the energy of people or things that may be bringing you down. Just unplug. I teach that to my students. Just simply do that little process. I am unplugging from your energy. Thank you. It works every time. It works every single time. I lost my spot here. Weird. Very weird. It almost feels like a Mercury retrograde, but no, it's a Saturn retrograde. Retrograde. So again, stay plugged in. Just visualize that golden light just streaming out of your heart. Like little streams of light, like little lasers coming out of your heart of golden light. And again, I am unplugging from your energy, whatever it may be, because we are going to see more and more narcissistic, angry people showing up and showing their true sides during these coming weeks. So unplug from these crazies, friends, the best you possibly can, and always walk in your own light and your own love. Now, artificial intelligence, or at least ChatGPT anyway, is sadly now responsible for a younger person taking their life into their own hands. Are you aware of this story, friends? It's a very, very sad story and quite disturbing story. I mean, it literally gave him directions on everything to do. That is friggin' creepy. And it is a clear sign of really how dangerous artificial intelligence really is. And especially more than anything for our younger generation. Extremely dangerous. And now the family, of course, is filing a lawsuit against ChatGPT, as they should be. Remember when ChatGPT was OpenAI, and then they changed the name? Didn't Elon Musk sue them for that? Because OpenAI was supposed to be an open source, free for everybody. And then they realized what they had and then changed it to ChatGPT so they can make millions. Unfortunate, isn't it? And look what they did with that Sam dude, that they got rid of him and then he weaseled his way back in. And dangerous, friends. It's very dangerous. And here's what's going to happen. Because many people are asking that right now. Is the government ever going to do anything about this and the dangers imposed by AI? Well, with the transits that are in place and going into place this month, yes. With an incident like this young man, and his life in his own hands, direction straight from the artificial intelligence, they're going to be forced. And I see even, remember the I don't know what good they did when we saw Mark Zuckerberg in the congressional hearings and such, but I see that happening around AI platforms. I even see in some countries where they're banning certain AI platforms. Of course, China's going to be one where they're only going to let their own AI in. But yeah, lots of bans, lots of changes and shifts with AI. Makes you wonder if AI could be really connected. Well, it is connected somehow to the anti-Jesus person. So who is that? Remember, Spirit did tell us that person we were going to see who that was this year. This year's going out very quickly. Now, of course, people will think it's the President of the United States or this person or that person. It's not. We know it's not. It doesn't mean they don't work for him, but it's not. Remember, the anti-Jesus comes from the Middle East, originally anyway. So it'll be interesting how this all plays out. AI is also going to be really amazing. It's got both. It's the balance. It's the scales. It's got very dark side. It's got a very light side. So it's going to help make major breakthroughs with diseases, illnesses, healing, before they start to have to ban that too, because, they don't want you to be naturally healed. But they won't be able to stop that, friends. They're just not going to be able to stop it. Too many people are looking into natural ways of healing already. We're already finding out about how the Big C and other diseases are being caused and the different detox formats that we can utilize to heal ourselves naturally. So, the whole AI thing, yeah, that's going to be coming to the forefront. We haven't even entered the transits around AI, and we already saw what happened to this young man and the lawsuit that's following. So more and more things like this are going to start to come up. And have you seen these AI companions? That creeps me out. That really creeps me out. I see ads for it. Have the girl or boy of your choice talking to you every day. It's just freaky. Really freaky. Don't plug into it, friends. Use AI only for good things. Don't use it as a companion, because then it might trick you and make you put your life in your own hands. Don't trust it. You may recall in early August my warning for more flooding and warnings that I set out for Vietnam, where many lives, unfortunately, were claimed after this horrifying typhoon swept through the country of Vietnam, showing us yet another disaster revolved around the waters and around weather and, the shifting and changing of the climate. So and besides Vietnam, more than 2 million folks were affected by severe floods in Pakistan. Once again, didn't they get hit earlier? And I've been warning Pakistan for a long time of many things, including major earthquakes, which they saw that too. Those folks just seem to be a targeted country for some reason or another, targeted by Mother Earth. Now, another place, I did warn Pakistan many times, and they're calling the flooding that just happened there the worst flood in history. We had flooding in China, India, and friends, the list just keeps going on, and it's going to just continue to grow. And even more so this month with the double Pisces influences, the eclipses, the 9 vibration, which is endings and clearing. So the 9 will bring in big storms and big things. Now, India has continued to be hit in different areas. The area of Delhi on the map continuously jumps out at me in India. So I tell the folks, not that we have any. Do we have any folks in Delhi, India? Please do comment below if you are, or if you're near there. But if you are, I would tell you to expect a combination of flooding in that region of India, and a potential for a major earthquake in Delhi, India, or very close to Delhi, India. Now, here in Arizona, this was wild. I had visions of this too earlier in the year. You'll remember. I warned. I told you we would see, not just out here in Arizona, in the Southwest, but also in the Middle East and such. I told you that we would see record-breaking dust storms hitting the Southwest and the Middle East. Well, luckily, I was still in Peru, friends, when this happened. I wasn't traveling back to Phoenix. And I go from Phoenix to Flagstaff because it's easier. But this all became a reality. And look at it, appearing like literally a scene out of the apocalypse, causing the airport to shut down, caused damage to the airport, forcing drivers to pull over with little to no visibility at all. A sure sign, friends, that our weather is going cray-cray, friends. This was followed, by heavy rains and winds, causing the Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix to temporarily shut down. And I even mentioned in the past about airports being shut down due to weather and earth events happening. Something that we are, unfortunately, this is going to become more and more common in the coming years. And the climate and the weather is going to continue to shift. Which, speaking of just thought of something I totally forgot about. 2 clips that I came across that I want to show you. Let me pull them up. I've showed you one of these in the past. Because, people talk when we say weather manipulation, and it's not all manipulated. A lot of it is Mother Earth, by the way. Every storm that comes out, people think was manipulated. Not all of them. A lot in the United States, though, for sure. And there's a lot of dryness here in the Southwest, and it's going to be a dry winter, too. So I would expect even more sandstorms to happen. But I had 2 clips here I want to show you. One is of the president, Eisenhower, telling us what they were going to do. This was decades ago. So we know they're doing it. I showed you all the patents, the patents that the government has on different ways of manipulating weather patterns, even hurricanes and being able to steer them. But watch these 2 clips real quick. Check them out.
That scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion,
no.
though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo-jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops? And if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine.
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events in agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes. All of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting, Professor Michio.
Yes.
It lays the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
If you control the weather, you control the world. Seems like the globalists are doing a pretty darn good job at that now, aren't they? And we know, going back to even the Vietnam conflict in Vietnam, that they used cloud seeding to flood out the Viet Cong during that conflict. So, and how many, that was before my time. So, you know, that was over, what, 60 years ago, 50 some years ago? Imagine what they have now, friends. Imagine what they have now. It looks like the sun disappeared here. I'm using natural light today because I don't like the lighting. That lighting was great for inside the house, but it's not so great for the Love Shack studio. So I think I'm going to get some different lighting in here eventually. I just got back from travels. So they seem to be pushing in our faces, have you noticed, lately, that there's this interstellar object. Actually, several interstellar objects. Now it's become more than one, zooming through our galaxy, and they say heading towards the Earth. Nothing like spreading stuff out there, friends. What are they preparing us for? Are they preparing us for, a true threat? Or is this just NASA and friends just preparing us for their plans to forge their new world government? I know it might sound like crazy to some, but it's not as crazy as you think it is. It's even in their playbook, and they have many playbooks. To use their project, the color blue, and the beam, put them all together to make things appear in the sky that aren't there. I know, again, it sounds crazy, but these things that sounded so crazy aren't so crazy anymore, right? The things that were called conspiracy became realities over the past few years. Big time, right? Big time. One of these objects, I was just watching Stefan Burns. Stefan Burns? I think that's his name. He's a expert on the subject, and he said something today. I only listened briefly. About one of the objects getting bigger as it's moving through space and time. So I would think that would be something definitely natural, because I don't think a spaceship's going to grow bigger. But let me tell you what happened to me on one of my ayahuasca journeys. And I will put a whole video together. If you missed my other video on ayahuasca journey, be sure to check it out. And thank you for all the comments and the compliments around that. And speaking of which, emails. People email me links constantly. Please do not email me links. Please do not email me anything that doesn't have to do with business. If you have links or anything you want to share, please share below in the comments. And certainly don't email me because you don't like my Love Shack. I don't care. I love it. I am surrounded by natural wood. I spent a lot of time and money making this Love Shack beautiful, and I love it. And 99% of you love it too. Thank you for the compliments, but don't email me that stuff. Use my email for business purposes only. I get overwhelmed, especially when I was away with emails and links. I appreciate the links, but I'd appreciate it more if you left them down below in the comments, because I'll see them better. When they come in the email, they end up getting deleted. They end up in the junk folder or the spam folder. So in one of my ayahuasca journeys, a lot of space stuff came up. A lot with spaceships, alien life. It was wild, friends. I wasn't expecting that either. But the first thing that I saw was this great ship floating above the earth. And then I was taken aboard the ship. And it happened to be the ship of the Galactic Federation. Now, hear me out. I am not one that believes or disbelieves anything right away. I am always in the middle. You have to prove it to me for me to believe it. I know there's a lot of people that claim to channel the Galactic Federation, which is again, I don't disbelieve or believe fully. I'm on the in-between on that. But now I am totally full aboard with the Galactic Federation because I was on their ship. It's pretty wild. It was almost like stepping into the Star Wars scene, the bar scene, right? All these different galactic beings. It was pretty awesome. And then they showed me different galaxies, took me through different portals. And I don't know if it was the Galactic Federation that did that, but another spaceship did. They also showed me what happened to us at Bradshaw Ranch that horrific night where we were sick for days afterwards. That wasn't good. They were obviously not that good. Although Spirit did show me, Mama, Grandmother Ayahuasca said that they're there to help us. Of course, like anything else, there's good ones and bad ones. Always. So, as far as what's going on above us, there are definitely a federation of galactic beings watching over our planet, watching us very closely, and they will defend when need to be defended. So that's good to know. That was good information to receive. Not that I worry about it. I really don't worry about much of anything, because worrying just lowers your vibration, especially when it comes to your health. But something's going to happen. I've been telling you this for a while. Remember last year, I predicted that there'd be major things in the skies hitting around November, December. And then we know about the whole drone invasion that happened over New Jersey and really all over the globe. Happened right when Spirit told us. Remember, Spirit also told us there were galactic beings on the way, and their arrival would become more apparent when we reach early December. And again, that happened. Now, a lot of that was drone stuff, of course, because the government don't want you to know. So if they know something's coming, yeah, sure, they'll throw a whole bunch of drones into the sky to throw you off, to make you think it's something else, and just government lying to us again and not telling us. It's one of the things Trump promised he would tell us. Never told us, did he? A lot of things he told us he would tell us. Epstein files, never dropped them. Instead, hides them. Can't trust the government, friends. Not now, anyway. In the future, we will. That's one of the things in my interview with Freddie Puma, the Master Puma. Me and Dr. B did a great interview with him. That'll be out next week. Keep an eye out for it. Hopefully on Monday, I'll have it edited out by Monday. That's the goal. But he talked about new leaders going into place. And it's already happening. Leaders with the higher vibration, eliminating these low vibrational puppets that are in place. So that was good. A lot of medical stuff, a lot of healing stuff. That's why I had Dr. B do a lot of the interview with me. We rotated back and forth with questions. Talked about so much stuff. You're going to love that interview, friends. You're going to love it. So if you're new here, again, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell on the all so you get notifications. Now, going back to these interstellar objects, I have no worry or fear about that. But I do feel like something's going to happen around the end of September, likely on the 29th to be exact. Now, remember, 29 is an 11-day, the 11th and the 29th. 9 plus 2 is an 11. 11 days, and it doesn't mean because you're born on an 11th day, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. Especially if you're born on the actual 11th of a month, that's a master birthday number, just like the 22. Which means you're going to be here to leave a legacy behind, or at least you have the potential to leave a legacy behind if you're born on the 11th or 22nd of a month. You have great potential to be an entrepreneur, a leader, and so forth. And then 29 is an 11-day. Not if you're born on the 29th. That don't count, by the way. But when it comes to things happening, events in the world, look, we had September 11th. We had Katrina come in on the 29th of a month. We had Hurricane Sandy come in on the 29th of a month. So if there's a hurricane or a storm heading your way and it's going to touch land on that date, the 11th or 29th, you better get your boat ready because it's going to be devastating. But I feel the 29th or the end of September, maybe right around the 29th, maybe even right between the 22nd and 29th, so equinox in the end of the month, something very big is going to happen when it comes to sky events. And I would imagine, because going back to my past predictions, I talked about meteors hitting the Earth. Remember that one that hit in Russia many years ago? That was in my predictions that year, too. Kind of reminds me of that. And I did make predictions. I don't know if it was in my 2025 world predictions, not sure. But that memory comes back to me. So we're going to see things hitting the Earth. I also see something taking out a satellite. So that satellite's going to fall to the Earth, likely into the water, though, so no worries there. And in 2026, I believe, it will be, where we see something much larger hit the ocean. And that's going to cause tsunami waves. And that could be actually the Atlantic Ocean. Now, I wouldn't worry about that now. As we get closer and closer to 2029, we can, focus more, or 2026, we'll focus more on that. But something big's happening with something hitting the ocean in 2026. So that just came to me. Now, a lot of people are talking about worries about diseases and such. But let me go back to the 29th. Again, something big's happening on the 29th. I would expect there to be big reveals coming again with more sky events as far as UFOs, UAPs, and even drone activity overwhelming our skies again. Not necessarily just on the 29th of September, but as we get into November again. November is very intense energies. It's a 2 vibration. It's good, but we have a lot going on in November energetically. Mercury retrograde, energy shift, all kinds of stuff in November. But look out for September 29th. It seems like a really big day. 29th. And being as equinox is on the 22nd, I would expect something on that day too. Perhaps something that causes a large amount of loss of life. Whether it's an explosion or a pow-pow event, something like that. Likely used by the globalists and the illuminated ones as their, equinox sacrifice. As crazy as that may sound to some. Now, I was going to talk about health stuff. Because remember, I told you there'd be a return of the plague. I said this many years ago, at least 4, maybe 5 years ago. Some predictions take years to play out. Someone here in Flagstaff, Arizona, well, up in Flagstaff, I'm not in Flagstaff, I'm in Sedona, but close enough, passed away from the plague. And it's not unusual. The plague's been around. They don't talk about it much, but it's spreading. It's becoming more and more of an issue, especially here in the United States. So let us know in the comments down below if you're in a country where you're seeing this plague outbreak happen. It's kind of interesting. They dump all these genetically modified mosquitoes on us and all this other stuff, and then all these outbreaks are happening. As far as pandemic-related outbreaks, I'm not concerned about that in the near future. As I told you before, 2029 is the year. 2029 to 2030. That's when we will see another kind of sort of pandemic. Could even be a return of the COVID virus of some sort. Yeah, something else is returning that affects the respiratory system in 2029 into 2030. I remember what Spirit told us. Back in 2017, I did a video on it called Tribulation, 2025 to 2032. I also asked Master Puma in the interview, because it was him. I got that in 2017, and then in 2018 for my 2018 predictions. And then I went to Peru in 2018, and I asked him about that day. I'm like, I keep getting this time period, 2025 to 2032. What do you think about that? And his mouth literally dropped to the ground. He's like, I'm getting that same window of time. So in my interview with him, I asked him to go deeper on that. So you're going to want to keep your eye out for that interview. Very interesting information. Very interesting information. So we're in that window. I deemed it the 7 years of tribulation. Just me, myself. I'm not saying that's the one related to the book of Revelation, but it kind of makes sense. 2025 is a 9-year of endings, death of cycles. 2032 is a year of the 7 vibration, a year of spiritual ascension and spiritual evolution. And that window is 7 years in time. Just makes sense. And I remember when I was very young, hanging out with my friends, doing meditation in our peace room that we had back in the day and drumming and such. Spirit said 2032, we enter the new earth. And I remember thinking, that's so long. How old am I going to be at that time? How old am I going to be? I'll be 62 years old at that time. Well, 61. Because my birthday's the end of September, or September 22nd anyway. Speaking of health, you saw what happened with the CDC. I wanted to tell you this. When I got off the aeroplane in New York, JFK, a woman came up to me with a swab in her hand. She had one of those swabs. She said, "Hi, I'm from the CDC. I would like to know if we can shove this thing up your nose." I'm like, "No, you cannot." I'm like, I don't trust the government, and I certainly don't trust the CDC to be shoving anything up my nose or anywhere in my body. And she kind of laughed and walked away. I thought that was really weird. Have you ever seen that, folks, anywhere? Have you, experienced that? Let me know in the comments. I just thought that was really weird. Now, and I've been feeling strange ever since I got home. But, of course, that was the ceremony. I mean, I was in nature and doing ceremony for 2 weeks and working with Wachuma medicine and ayahuasca medicine, and that flows through my body still. So I expect that to, but I just thought it was so weird. And I don't trust those things they shove up your nose. Now, if she wanted to swab maybe my mouth and I have my own swab that I can take out of my suitcase and swab and give you, then I'm all about it. But I don't trust you or your swabs. Isn't that weird? Another weird thing is Donald Trump's health. President Trump's health is in a very bad place. And I've told you this before. And I'm going to rewind you all the way back to 2016 when I said in my predictions that Trump would serve 2 terms and that he would pass away in what I said at the time was the 3rd year of his 2nd term, right around his birthday. His birthday is June 14th. He's in his 2 year right now in numerology. You can pass at any time, of course, but the numbers that people pass most commonly around are the 4 and the 9. I'm in my 4 year, and I don't ever have problems. I'm always healthy. Haven't had a cold in years and years, but I think that might be what's going on in my chest right now, which is fine. Once every 4 or 5 years, I can handle that. But even in the beginning of this year, I had a problem after I went and got my teeth worked on in Mexico, actually, because it's cheaper. Then I had this whole toothache thing and I had to take antibiotics, and I don't like taking anything at all if I don't have to. Only natural supplements. Another thing I've been taking is mullein. Do you know about mullein? It grows all over the place here in Arizona. Even though it's an invasive plant, my niece yells at me, "You need to pull that out of the ground. It's invasive." She goes to forestry school, so so cute. But I went and harvested some. Made my own tincture out of it. Mullein is like a natural decongestive. Well, it is a natural decongestive. It's like Mucinex, basically. And I've been taking that since I got back. So that could also be everything breaking up in my chest that I didn't know existed. That's what's amazing about mullein. You might not even have any problems, and then you start taking it, and you're blowing stuff out of your nose and coughing stuff up and clearing out your system. I think Trump needs more than just some mullein, though, because that man, as I venture into his body, seems to have a lot of issues in his digestive area, the colon, and even the prostate. I'd be willing to bet that he has the big C. Whether they know it or not, that's another story. But I'd be willing to bet that he has that going on. Not only that, his heart area, a lot of pressure in the heart. And going back to what I said in 2016, I remember during the last election that he lost and Biden won, people were in the comments, "You said he was going to serve 2 terms," and yes, I still stand by that. He's not coming back. Well, he did come back and he won. And he's not going to make it through this term. I said it, how many years ago was that? Jeez, that was a long time ago. 2016 already. It was 9 years ago. Can you believe it? Time flies. Excuse me. I'm almost out of tea. I see a lot of fluid around his heart area. A lot of fluid. A lot of clogging going on. And likely I'd say he's going to collapse eventually because he's overdoing it. And, he's got cankles. Cankles. And he's not obese. And he's got cankles. Swollen ankles, by the way, if you didn't know what that was. That's not good. That usually indicates something with the heart. Without a doubt, it indicates something with the heart. So he's got something going on there. And he's going to end up collapsing and end up going to the hospital. Remember, I saw ambulance outside the White House, and we always thought it was going to be Joe Biden, or at least his clone. We never saw that happen. There was an ambulance there, but it wasn't for one of them. I forget what it was for. So, yeah, that's going to be him. And I would imagine he's going to undergo some kind of major surgery. Vance will be sworn in temporarily, probably just during the surgery. Kind of like what happened with Kamala. Remember, I said in my predictions I saw her being sworn in temporarily, and she was, as Biden was undergoing, I think, colon surgery or something like that. colonoscopy, something like that was happening with him, and she was signed in temporarily. I see that happening with Vance. But eventually Vance will be sworn in. And people think that that's good. You know, there's people out there that wish the president to not be here anymore. You really think Vance is going to be any better? He's going to be worse, friends. He's going to be not good. Remember, he was backed by and paid for by Peter Thiel. If you don't know about Peter Thiel, look him up for yourself. Remember, they signed all our data over to Peter Thiel and his little Palantir enterprise that he's got going on, which is basically a mass surveillance system and data collection center for America. We don't want that. And with Vance going in, it's just going to push that more in our faces. I noticed the whole license plate reader thing all over the place now, tracking everything. And those license plate readers aren't even the government. They're private companies that your local towns are paying for. They're all over Sedona now. I think it's ridiculous. I think that you don't need to know where I'm going and what I'm doing. It's not your business. And they'll say, oh, but it's to help fight crime. Baloney. You can fight crime other ways without tracking every little thing we do. So there, Trump's going to have a major emergency with his health. I would look towards the month of November for two reasons. Because it's that Mercury retrograde energy, which also brings out health issues and health stuff, because what it does is it brings up emotions. Most illnesses and diseases are emotionally deep-rooted emotional causes. And those that refuse to work through it, every time these cycles come, eventually it leads to illness or disease. Hospitals and emergency rooms get extremely busy as we come out of these retrograde cycles, Mercury retrograde cycles. So by the end of November, hospitals are going to get very, very busy. It's also when we can see more outbreaks, stronger, heavier flu season, which I do believe is coming as well. Like a record flu season coming our way, or some other kind of outbreak, but I think it's just the flu. Chris will say it's a different kind of flu. We're going to see more with the bird flu coming up too in the next few months, especially November. Now, November, Trump will be in his 4 personal month. He's in his 2 personal year, but that'll be his 4 month. The 4 month can definitely highlight health and health issues. So that's the time he needs to be extremely aware of. Now, Spirit hasn't told me anything different as far as my prediction going back to 2016, where I see him serving 2 terms and passing in the 3rd year of his 2nd term. So what would that be? 2027. So he'll be around for a little while. And I remember also, I got to put this out there, that it will be natural causes, even though people will be like, oh, they did it to him, or the CIA did it to him. No, it will actually be natural causes. And it will be likely when he's sleeping. He'll sleep right through it. And they'll say his heart gave out or something like that. And that'll probably lead to the multiple presidential future funerals that I saw in a row. I saw 3 in a row. Now, back-to-back presidential funerals. We did just see Jimmy Carter. So it could be one comes, they could be a year apart, which would also make sense. Early 2026, we see a president pass or a past president pass, likely Bill Clinton. And then 2027, Donald Trump. So it's going to get interesting. And let me tell you, when Vance takes over, the MAGA people are not going to like him. They're going to turn against him. You watch. You watch. Remember, you heard it here first. I just have this in my notes, and I just wanted to mention it again, even though I already said it. I see something crashing into the ocean, like meteors. And I see meteors becoming an issue. This is probably, especially as we get to 2029 and we see the comet Apophis go right by our planet. That's going to leave behind a trail of debris. Again, this isn't something to fear. I see constantly in the comments, oh, where should I move? Where should I live? And there's a question when I get to the questions about that, so I'll elaborate that on in a minute. We see the return of the plague. I don't really worry about that. Even though, we know that wiped out how many thousands or millions of people back in the day. I don't get that worry or vibe, even though in some cities it will be bad. I saw in my September forecast in visions people in hazmat suits going down into the sewer systems and into the tunnels. And I can only imagine they're doing that to try to eradicate the rat population and rodent population, especially in China. It's probably where it will start. It seems like everything seems to start over there, doesn't it? Kind of creepy. Another thing I wanted to mention is the skyrocketing price and record price of gold and silver. How long ago did I tell you all to start buying silver and gold? Years and years ago. Because I know I started. I remember way back when I first started doing predictions, 2008, 2009? Somewhere back there, maybe 2007. I lose track of time, but I told people to start buying silver then, and then there was that shortage and silver skyrocketed. And if you cashed it in, you made a lot of money. If you held on to it, then you didn't make anything. You got to, of course, sell it to make the money. Well, then, I didn't listen back then like I should have. Now I very much listen to what the spirits say to do. And I bought silver when it was just $20, $21 an ounce. I looked yesterday, it was $42 an ounce. I couldn't believe it. That's like a wow, friends. I don't know what gold is, but that's a skyrocketed. It hit the highest value ever. And really, I feel like there's going to be a break where it goes down again. Silver maybe around $35. And that'd be the time to go in and buy it again. Because it's going to continue to go up. Especially as we progress towards 2030, I would expect silver to be over a couple $100 an ounce by 2030. So even buying it, I still would wait for it to go down before I'd buy it at $42 an ounce. Because by the time you buy it, you're paying probably $44 an ounce. I would wait a little while. But as I said in the past, I see silver going up. Silver being the better long-term investment according to the spirits. And not everybody can afford to buy gold anyway. And in the percentage-wise, silver is going to be the one. Remember, silver is in all your stuff. Your computers, your solar panels, your cell phones. Eventually, there's going to become a point where there's going to be a shortage again. Especially means everybody's buying it up. So, interesting times indeed, friends. And of course, it's always important to have backup of proper foods and things. Stock up on food as much as you can. Especially with the increasing of prices, and also eggs. I told you in my September forecast that there's going to be a spike in eggs again. I was just looking, I have powdered eggs already in my survival cabinet, but I was looking at a sale, I forget what company it was, and I saw their powdered eggs skyrocketed in price. I was like, whoa, they're skyrocketed for a big can of powdered eggs. But they're good to have, It's good to have anything, just in case, especially if you're in an area where, say, there's a disaster and you can't get the food or to the grocery store. Don't be scared. Be prepared. Moving on to some questions from the comments below, and I'm only going to get through a few. There's still more to get through. You can leave the letter Q, semicolon, and your question below in the comments. And again, do not email them to me, and no personal questions, please. Joseph, do we see our deceased pets again? That's a good question, because that was another amazing thing that happened to me in my ayahuasca journey. The first ceremony. I was reunited with my doggies. My precious Mary Jean, well, you can't see her because I'm zoomed in, but she's over there on the wall. My Anubis or newbie, who was Black Lab, and even my childhood dog I was reunited with. It was amazing. And they were all happily playing together. Then I was reunited with all my family members and ancestors. I remember Grandma Tittel coming along, everybody, my mom, my pop, everybody was there. So yes, we do see them again in some form or another. And remember, even as Spirit told me, even those that reincarnate, there's always a part of us that still exists in the heavenly realm. It gives us our direct connection to the divine creator. Now, Betsy in the chat room is asking, is Israel going to do some karma? Are they going to do some karma? How do you do karma? Or what are they, for what they are doing to the Palestinians? If so, what is it? Or is it really the Zionists? Did I hear rain? Heard something out there. Well, we know it's the Zionist, friends. And as far as karma is concerned, karma is not delivered to a country. Karma is delivered to people. And we get our karma one way or another in this lifetime before we exit. Everybody gets their karma, both the good karma and the bad karma. And we are in this window right now, as I said earlier in the transits, that this is about karmic debt and people paying their karmic debts. So you got good karma coming to you. Hopefully you fixed all the bad karma. And it's not bad. Again, it's part of our lessons. It's part of what we learn to bring balance to our souls and to our lives. And, the truth is coming out. People know what's happening. I told you earlier about how there are over 200 media outlets are protesting against Israel. And I don't think it's so much the country as I think it's Netanyahu. That man gave me bad vibes from the first day I ever saw him. And I know he's like from the Philadelphia area where I am from, which makes it even more interesting. And don't wish karma on people. Work with your own karma and just know that the light is going to shine and things are going to balance out the way they need to. Another question is, will mortgage rates come down soon? Thank you. The housing market's a mess. I think I just read this morning that Trump wants to call a housing crisis. I mean, I don't know how there's a housing crisis. Maybe because they let too many illegal people into the country all at once, and where are they going to go when you ain't got no room for them? That's happening, and that's what we see happening down in Australia and everywhere else that we talked about earlier. I see a slight decrease in the mortgage rates going down. I think, what are they at, like 7% now, which is ridiculous. So, like maybe, for example, this is just an example. I didn't look at the rates, so I don't know if they're 7. I just feel like they might be. So 7 to 6. Or maybe even 7 to just 6.5. It's a low decrease. It's probably why the president wants to call for a housing crisis to lower the mortgage rates, but these bankers don't want to come off it because they want to control it all. BlackRock's buying up all the real estate over and over and over again. So a slight decrease before an increase, which makes it really bad for new homeowners because it'll cost you a fortune to buy a home right now. The interest will kill you. Within the next few years, things will begin to balance out better. And we'll see rates down to maybe 3% again. But I don't feel like that's happening for a few years. And then really it also depends on where in the world you live, even though the big bankers control it all. Question: what do you see for Maui? We are having some dry, hot weather and crazy winds again like we did prior to the fires in 2023. Well, I just saw not that long ago, a month or so ago, there were more fires in Maui. And we know Zuckerberg just bought another 100 acres or 100 acres or 1,000 acres or something. That's what they're doing, friends. That's what they're doing. And the weather, dry weather, you will have a big wet season coming in soon, says the spirits, that are going to wash things up pretty well. But that will, in turn, due to the dryness, cause a lot of flooding and even some rock and mudslides that will occur. Excuse me. But you're still in that dryness. And I don't believe that wetness is coming maybe till the new year. When we step into maybe January, February, you're still in grave danger of fires and even a scenario like we saw in Lahaina. A little bit smaller, but a scenario. And you know that scenario because it was in my predictions. I saw something coming from the sky, igniting something on fire, a whole area, a whole city. You remember me saying this, along the coastline. And then it was like a month, maybe 2 months later, we saw what happened in Lahaina. Very sad. And we can only hope that the truth comes out about these matters as well. But in Maui, things will get better. The weather-wise, wet season's coming. Maybe a little too wet too fast, but wet season is coming. Question: hi, Joseph. We have the ships and planes where have the ships and planes gone when they disappeared through the Bermuda Triangle? That's an interesting question. Most of them go underwater. Most of them are washed away. Oh, it is raining normally, so it might be a little darker in here. I told you I have no lighting today. I just decided to go natural because it was nice and bright in here earlier. Yeah, most of them in the Bermuda Triangle are getting washed under the water due to the waters. But some of them are passing through portals as well because there are portals there. And if we were to put like satellite cameras right above the Bermuda Triangle, we would see those portals opening and closing. Reminds me of that whole thing that happened with the Philadelphia experiment, about the Philadelphia experiment. That was in my grandfather's day. He was somehow weaved into that because he was in the Navy. I think, yeah, he was in the Navy at the time. My grandpa didn't tell us much. He held it all back. He probably wasn't allowed to tell us. But I think of the Bermuda Triangle, and then I think of the Philadelphia experiment and how that all played out. So there's definitely portals there. Definitely some energy below that feels pyramid related to me. Very crystal related to me. Probably a part of ancient Lemuria, or even part of ancient Atlantis. Keep in mind that Atlantis and Lemuria were around the same time period. They were different continents. Some of those continents are underwater. This is where Edgar Cayce said that Atlantis would rise again. He literally was talking about parts of things coming out of the water again. And then also the ice melt in the Arctic that reveals parts of Atlantean technology as well. That's why even Adolf went over there before World War II to do digging and such in Antarctica. You know, and you're not allowed to go there. You're not allowed to fly over the middle. We know about the ice wall. It's just kind of crazy. Bermuda Triangle. Interesting question. This comes from Linda. Linda G. I've been having butterflies laid on me. What do you mean laid on you? You mean land on you. Land on you is what you mean. Is this my G-ma? Is this my grandma or my parents? Who do you think it is? When you get a visit from a loved one, the very first one that pops up in your mind when those events happen is the one that's responsible. But more than anything, this is a spirit ally. As I teach in my master classes and shamanic journey work, allies come from the animal, plant, and insect kingdom. Anything that's in our pathway or that crosses our pathway is an ally trying to get our attention and say, hey, I can help you. Especially when you go into shamanic journey with the sound and the heartbeat of the drum and you communicate with him. They give you information. I've even had allies give me magic and help me protect myself or protect things that need to be protected. So the ally of the butterfly, a couple things will go into play here. First, the color. And you have to look up the color meaning. So if it was a yellow butterfly, you need to look up the spiritual meaning of the color yellow. Butterflies, more than anything, represent rebirth and transformation, coming out of the cocoon and spreading your wings and flying. They are a symbol that you are about to transform in amazing ways, especially if you're willing to do so. So when we were in Peru, we went to Pisca and the ancient sites that are in Pisca, Peru, which were amazing. And we climbed up the mountain, and I couldn't breathe. High elevation can get you, man. And we sat in this carved stone that goes back thousands of years. They say hundreds, but I was getting a vibe of thousands. And we did a meditation with the condor, which was awesome. Coming back down the mountain, I was in front. All of a sudden, there's a dove right in front of me. And as I'm walking, it stopped, looked at us. As I'm walking, it's leading the path. All of a sudden, there's a dove leading the pathway. After I just did this amazing journey with the condor. Definitely symbolic of course, an ally trying to get our attention. I like the website whatsyoursign.com, and there's a hyphen in between each word, so it's what's-your-sign.com. And she does a great, amazing job on her website and on her stories about the different allies. So I'd tell you to go there and look deeper into the symbolic meaning of the butterfly. Because more than anything, it might not be grandma or your parents. It's more likely an ally trying to get your attention, saying, hey, I can help you. I can help you through this transformation that you're currently going through. So that's where allies come in. Now, Chrissy, who's full of joy, says, will the digital IDs and family home tax actually happen in Australia? Excuse me. Digital IDs, yes. I'm not educated on what the family home tax is. Maybe you can let us know in the comments below. I don't know what that is. But your prime minister in Australia, it's like the one in Canada. Very paid and backed by the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum wants you to have digital ID for the internet, for you to access the internet. And they want that for the entire planet. And likely they're probably going to get their way one way or another. Look at here in the United States, now you have to have the ID. What do they call it? The special ID, which I had when I moved here and got my license in Arizona. It automatically came with the little golden star at the top right corner. Now, I saw someone take one of those licenses apart, and then underneath that star was a little tiny, itty-bitty digital chip. How about that? So there's already a digital ID here in the United States. People just don't know that it's a digital ID. Your passport's the same way. I got a new passport because my other one expired. And I noticed that the one with your picture in it, that part of the passport, the old one's flimsy, you can bend it back and forth, whereas the new one's hard as a rock, like really hard. Why? Because there's something digital behind it. Of course there is, friends. That's why they scan it, and it's more the digital chip that it's picking up on. So the digital IDs, yeah, that's coming to Australia. The family home tax, I'm not clear on that. I see a lot of fighting about that, a lot of resistance about that. So hopefully that won't go into place. Now, David in the chat room is saying, do you still see any possibility of cells of sleepers? Excuse me. I'm out of tea. Got to switch to water. Sleeper cells or big bad booms. I like the way you said that. Big bad booms on U.S. soil. Yes, unfortunately. Because I talked about this at least 2 years ago. I had visions. It was in my channeled predictions where we saw sleeper cells hiding out in the big cities. I saw visuals of people with pow-pows, more than one, in the streets. So they're still here, yes. Hopefully they won't get activated anytime, ever, or anytime soon. But yeah, they're here. They're here. If you remember, going back to the channel predictions, it was a combination. There were different ones. There were ones that were Russian-related. There were ones that were connected between China, Iran, and Russia. I remember, this memory comes back to me where Spirit said that Russia would back out. There's some kind of plan that they have with the Middle East, China, but Russia will go back on their word like they usually do. I think that might have something to do with the sleeper cells. New York would be a big one. And that they were the cities I talked about: New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Boise, Idaho, Dallas and Houston, Texas, and even in Phoenix, Arizona. So pretty much all big cities have something going on in them. Now, what we can do is hold in the light that our government, the corrupt three-letter agencies, do something about it. I doubt they will, but we can hold in the light. Remember, we are the ones that hold the power, friends. We are the ones that hold the power. We can make anything happen, especially together as a collective. If we hold the same visual in the light and hold the visual of all these people being arrested and being taken down, and so it is, it shall happen. And that's the other thing we're going to be seeing soon is a lot of arrests. I predicted that many years ago. And we've seen some, but I see many, many more coming. Many, many more coming. Well, beautiful friends, this is what I got for you for this episode 180 of Teatime, baby. I very much hope you enjoyed, and if you did, do please hit that thumbs up love button. Share this on your social media. Share it with others. Remember, sharing is caring. And I do apologize that all of a sudden I got this throat thing going on when I decided to record. Interesting. Must be that Mullen and the plant medicine working through my body still. I have no doubt. Interesting times indeed. I'll be back Thursday with more predictions for you, or at least other content for you. And I'll be editing out that video. Well, not editing it, but putting it together, the interview with Master Puma in Peru. It's a great interview. I can't wait to show it to you all. He's a great interviewer. He just like flows through, man. He's awesome. You're going to like it. Really good questions about health, healing, the direction the world's going in. Good stuff, friend. It's good stuff. So again, thank you for hitting that thumbs up love button. Thank you to all the supporters who make this free content possible for everybody else. Thank you for your chat caches and such. I thank you with infinite love and gratitude. Don't forget to sign up to the free newsletter below. And remember, you can catch me every Tuesday for some tea time. And if you miss me, or on Wednesday, depending on where in the world you live, just be sure to go directly to the channel. Make sure you're still subscribed, because sometimes they like to manipulate things, if you know what I mean, especially when you're putting out a lot of good information and a lot of truth. Apparently, the algorithms don't like that very much at times. Guess it depends. It depends who they're favoring today and who they're favoring tomorrow. But other than that, friends, I'm going to leave you with this, and I will see you all in the future. I see it right here in my crystal ball. I see you all in the future. Until then, friends, remember to be bold, be true, be kind, be you. Let your light shine ever so brightly, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste, and much love, friends. Much love.